Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. Today, a little late I'm afraid, I want to show you my TBR for Jane Austen July. If you don't already know about this fantastic event, I urge you to check out the links, which I'll post in the description box, to the hosts of this year's events. In addition to their prompts, it looks like they're going to facilitate a wide range of interesting diversions as well. Jane Austen July is one of my very favorite events on BookTube, and this year is especially exciting. Because it's the 250th birthday of the author, many people have released new books this year, and there's at least one more coming out in a month or two. Let's get straight to the stack of books I have with me today. The first is Emma, my favorite Austen, at least most of the time, and also the group read for this year's event. This isn't the edition I plan to read this year. Some time ago, I mentioned that I've been through a number of inexpensive paperback copies of Austen. When I was a girl, I read what I think might have been Signet Classic mass markets, and they lasted me through college. Then I cobbled together a set of used Penguins and new Penguins from a local bookstore. And very recently, after having a surprisingly generous payment for a freelance job I was doing, I bought myself a new set of Austens. I'll be showing those to you later during the course of July. As I said, I've read Emma many times, and right now is a time in my life when I'm especially enjoying rereading old favorites, so this is just lovely. The other Austen I might pick up is Persuasion, which I know far less well. After rereading it, I want to watch the relatively new screen adaptation too, directed by Carrie Cracknell, which I think is sort of a traditional adaptation with lots of contemporary elements added in. I plan to watch it, but I have heard a fair number of negative reviews of it. The other screen adaptation I want to view this month is Miss Austen, based on the novel by Gil Hornby, about Jane's sister Cassandra and her desire to destroy Jane's letters. I was so jealous when I watched all you Brits talk about the show, Miss Austen, but now it's also on PBS streaming, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Although I usually list potential modern retellings of Austen in my July TBRs, I often don't actually read them. I suspect the same thing will happen this year. So, at the very back of my potential TBR is a novel published a couple of years ago by Lauren Edmundson called Ladies of the House. It's a modern retelling of Sense and Sensibility, and it takes place in the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C. When it comes to light that their father was involved in a political scandal, Daisy and her sister and her mother watch their savings disappear as they confront social exile. And Daisy's not-quite boyfriend turns out to be writing an expose about her father. Could be fun. Have any of you read it by any chance? The prompts that most excite me during Jane Austen July are those that suggest we read nonfiction. And I think a lot of us are picking up some of the same books this year. The first is Rebecca Romney's Jane Austen's Bookshelf, a rare book collector's quest to find the women authors who shaped a legend. I loved watching the author on a fairly recent documentary, The Booksellers. She's got a wonderful combination of smarts and humor and charm. I'm guessing her writing will have a similar tone. And she's been a reader of Jane Austen for far longer than she's been a bookseller. Here she's writing about the authors that Jane Austen read and enjoyed, from Frances Burney and Anne Radcliffe to Charlotte Smith and Maria Edgeworth, each with their own chapter. According to the Book Flap, Romney writes how these women became writers and also how they influenced Austen. While I've read bits of several of these authors, I assume I'll be unable to read this book without adding a ton of books to my possibilities list. Somewhat related is Susan Allen Ford's What Jane Austen's Characters Read and Why. While I assume that some of the same writers from Romney's book will show up in this one, the basic conceit of the book is quite different. Ford is interested in how Austen, who loved reading, created characters who also loved reading. The chapters are arranged not by author but by Austen novel. Instead of thinking about Maria Edgeworth, for example, we're asked to think about Emma and all of the other characters in it and what they read and why it matters to those novels. The next book I'd like to pick up is Janet Todd's Living with Austen. Todd is a long-term literary historian who knows a lot about some of Austen's predecessors, but this book is more about how Jane Austen's novels have been meaningful to Todd in different stages of her life even, and how they might do the same for us. It sounds lovely. The last nonfiction work that I want to mention is Jane Austen and the Price of Happiness, written by Brodey. The author's focusing on what she sees as the ironic or sometimes ambiguous endings of Austen's novels. This is an academic book, and I gather it goes into the weeds a bit more than some of the other books on my list. What sounds most interesting to me is that the author investigates how Austen worked her control over readers' emotions at every point, and this at a time when the novel was still under construction as a way of writing, if that makes sense. Finally, I want to mention a Jane Austen-related present that one of my viewers sent me not too long ago, the Jane Austen Tarot deck. I know next to nothing about tarot cards, and I don't think that these would be the kinds of cards that people truly interested in tarot would want to use, but they are lovely for people who are just here for Jane Austen. Let me show you a few of the cards. Basically, there's an oversized deck with the Ace of Spades and the Queen of Hearts, etc. But the pictures are not traditional. There's a teapot, a set of Regency instruments, a painting of a couple about to dance, a set of bonnets, etc. And a little booklet that points out the theme for each card. For example, the Four of Clubs is stability. A set of well-trimmed bonnets speaks of one's wealth and status. Or the Four of Hearts, contemplation. In Sense and Sensibility, Colonel Brandon is silent, sensitive, and rather grave, and given to contemplation. Well, I'm so pleased Jane Austen July has arrived, despite the heat that always accompanies it in the Northern Hemisphere. Thanks so much to Katie, Claudia, and Marissa for hosting the event, and to all of you who are joining in this year. I can't wait. And thanks to all of you for joining me here on Hannah's Books. See you soon.